Yeah, our friend Tim Kawakami, who writes for the San Francisco Standard these days, wrote a column that published. We're recording this on Tuesday, and it published Tuesday morning. I'll share it with the screen for our YouTube viewers, but there's obviously one graph here that stands out to me. I'll read it. Quote, I checked around, and my understanding is that the 49ers feel that the timing is all wrong, referencing Jawan Jennings getting a new contract. They don't want to give Jennings a big new deal so soon after he signed the last one, a year after giving Brandon Ayuk a huge contract that the 49ers money people almost instantly regretted, and months after signing Brock Purdy to a $65 million deal. So I think, and Tim goes on to allude to the fact that final cut down day, August 26th, might be a pretty significant day in where like we might have a clear answer as to, is Jawan Jennings actually holding out? Is he going to play without a new contract? Is he going to demand a trade? It's all a little bit murky right now. It sounds like Jawan Jennings actually is dealing with a calf injury. But he also very clearly wants a new contract, and the 49ers don't really want to give him one. And I see the logic from both sides. I think Jennings is absolutely doing the right thing for him in that, he's set to make $7.5 million this season. He's probably worth double that, I would say. And I'm sure he would want more financial security beyond this season, given that this is the last year of his current contract. But if you're the 49ers, like they don't want every single guy going into the last year of their deal holding out and not willing to play on the last year of their contract without some long-term security. They have a lot of cap space this year, but they don't have much cap space going next year. I think I was looking in 2026, they have about $8 million in effective cap space. So obviously you give Jennings a deal that eats into a lot of it. And it gets complicated, man. You give Fred Warner a new contract, George Kittle, Brock Purdy. You still have Christian McCaffrey. You still have Trent Williams. Like, I'm sure some money can get moved around, but it looks like this could be something that is problematic for the rest of the month.
Sure. And that's what makes the Jawan Jennings thing so difficult is the 49ers believe that in 2026, their top two receivers are going to be Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
And according to, Kawakami writes, the Jennings camp probably wants a deal for this season and the next few that would put him among the top 20 receiver salaries, $20 million or higher over the span of the contract. You're not going to pay a third wide receiver when you also have Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle $20+ million a year. If that's what Jawan Jennings wants, sorry.
Right.
Like, I fully understand the argument for why they need him specifically this year. I totally get it. I'm not naive to that fact that Ricky Pearsall's health is going to be a question mark until it's not. Demarcus Robinson might be out the first 3 games because of a suspension. You have Brandon Ayuk, where you've got Shanahan saying maybe week 6, maybe later, depends. So you've got half a season without. I get the importance of Jawan Jennings, but $20+ million, man, like, get a grip. Over whether that's this year or next year, and regardless of the salary cap implications, that's just not. It's really clear that's not what the 49ers want to do anymore. They don't want to just dish out this money and go, okay, we'll figure it out later. No, it's really, really clear that they're past that way of doing business. And now you throw in this calf injury for Jennings where he's not even in practice. And you're going to pay a guy $20 million who aggravated a calf injury from OTAs that he also dealt with last year, according to Kyle Shanahan. That's just there's so many red flags here. And again, I understand why Jawan Jennings would be vital to this season. But I think the 49ers, as they look at 2026, 2027 and beyond, I don't think they've viewed Jawan Jennings as this must-keep piece. They'd probably like to have him at $10 to $12 million a year. But at 18, 20, I think that's probably wise for them to turn that down.
Yeah, I mean, that's all. I agree with everything you said. And I just think there's logic from where both sides are sitting. right? Like
Absolutely.
Jawan Jennings clearly outperformed his contract last year, clearly deserves more than what he's making this year. But you laid it out. Like the Niners don't really have any real long-term reasoning to give Jawan Jennings something like $20 million a year. I think if that were the case, and they probably would have traded him in the offseason. But where they're at right now on August 12th is basically their entire receiving core, or at least going into the regular season, their projected receiving core is either a question mark or injured.
Right.
So, you have Ricky Pearsall, who's a second-year player who hasn't proven a whole lot. Looks the part, has been great in camp, and showed signs of being a very productive starter last year during his rookie season, which was obviously derailed by an injury and getting shot right before the season started. You have Jordan Watkins now out with a high ankle sprain. It looked like he might be your third or fourth receiver going into the season. Jacob Cowing just returned to practice today, Tuesday, after a hamstring injury that he suffered on warmups in the first day of training camp. And it feels like, based on Jacob Cowing's rookie season, it's kind of crazy to think like, man, Jacob Cowing is a really important player for the 49ers, given that he did not have a particularly good rookie season.
If they had to play a game right now, let's assume Demarcus Robinson is suspended.
And he's just, yes, that's another point.
Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing are probably your top two receivers, or Russell Gage, who hasn't played a game since 2022.
Right.
Like, man, they are in rough shape.
Now the season doesn't start for almost another month.
Right.
So they have that going for them, but it's tenuous, man. Like this is a real thing. The Niners receiver situation is a real thing. And maybe, maybe midway through the year you have Pearsall taking a leap and looks like a really good player. And then you get Brandon Ayuk back and he's 80 to 90% of what he was in 2023 was when he was an all-pro. Like, I feel like Ayuk and Pearsall represent two pretty good options if they're your first two receivers, potentially. If you can get Jennings, then all right, maybe you're really cooking with gas. On top of the fact that obviously Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle are going to be huge pieces for the passing game. So maybe all this stuff works out, but right now it just feels very tenuous because you're missing so many of these guys. And yeah, maybe Demarcus Robinson is a really good third receiver. He might be a really good third or fourth receiver, but you might be without him for the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's just, given where everything stands, it feels like we're headed to a dramatic couple weeks with Jennings, particularly around August 26th date when they cut the roster down to 53. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Jennings is the first guy the 49ers end up trading with all these contractual situations. Like, it would make sense.
Sure.
Honestly. Like if they feel okay about Russell Gage or somebody like that.
Well, that's just it. Is if they feel, and I think you would have to feel great about Russell Gage. You'd need to see real improvement from Jacob Cowing. You'd have to feel great about Jordan Watkins once he comes back from his high ankle sprain, because he's going to probably miss the first couple of weeks. So you'd have to feel really good about the rest of those guys to trade Jawan Jennings. And I think another part of the reason this is so complicated, because I don't disagree with you, but the other side of this, if you're Jennings, you're going, well, if Brandon Ayuk comes back, what does he look like? And is he ever the same? Sure. Because you can want Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk to be your top two guys, but what if Jawan Jennings, with how Brandon Ayuk is coming back from injury, is just better? Just a better player or a more productive player? Like that's something I think that's on the table if you're Jawan Jennings, which is I think why the contract stuff isn't necessarily going away.
Yeah, it'll be tough.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think this might be the first time we see actual trade discussions. I know there were real trade discussions involving Brandon Ayuk last year, but it just never really felt like the 49ers were going to trade him. It just felt like a bunch of weird, unnecessary drama. This feels very real, because I think you make a great point in that the 49ers plan is essentially to have Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall as their top two guys. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't make any logical sense to pay their number 3 receiver $20 million a year.
Right.
So
What do you
unless
think?
something catastrophic happens, but who knows?
Sure. If Brandon Ayuk says, "You know what? I'm sick of rehab. I'm done playing football." Okay, then let's have a different conversation. But I don't foresee that happening. What would if the 49ers announced right now that they're re-signing Jawan Jennings? What is the number? What is the maximum average annual value they could give him where you would be like, "Oh, okay, good deal"?
I mean, it depends on the structure, of course. Anybody who knows anything knows that the structure is really the most
You're
important.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I botched this completely. Let me re-ask that question. If we can edit this in post, that would be great. So, Chris, what is if Adam Schefter reported right now that the 49ers are re-signing Jawan Jennings, but Schefter also reported the full structure. Can you give me the full structure breakdown that you would think is a good deal for both sides?
Yeah, I think ostensibly giving him a raise to that 15, 16, 17 million dollars a year, or just for this year, maybe with a similar number for next season, but have it be like a team option in the spring, which Tim pointed out in his column. I think Tim was thinking more money than I am, but if it turns into something where it's like 2 years, $32 million with the first year basically guaranteed. So he basically gets his 15, $16 million a year. And then you can get out from it after the season and trade him next spring. I think that's probably the best outcome for both sides. Unless something crazy, who knows? Like something crazy could happen. Somebody else could get hurt. They might end up really needing Jennings in 2026 and beyond. But barring that, I think a deal that gives him a raise now and then allows you to trade him in the spring, and ostensibly turn this into a contract year for Jennings, I think that would make a lot of sense. But at the same time, I fully understand why the 49ers wouldn't want to do it, because then Colton McKivitz could be like, well, I'm a $16-17 million a year player and I'm making a small fraction of that. So give me a raise too.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the Niners just don't want to set that precedent. And I fully understand that. It's what makes the NFL so tricky with the way the league is structured from a financial perspective.
I don't think
So,
the dirt dog would ever do that to his guys, though.
well, he is a bona fide dirt dog.
That's a great point.
So, but yeah, I think that's kind of it, because if they gave into Jennings and then gave him a new deal, my immediate focus would go to McKivitz and see if he tries to do the same thing, because he would be well within his right.
I think, yeah, for sure. But I think McKivitz is in a little bit different spot because he wasn't like Pro Bowl caliber last year, and Jennings was.
Sure. Yeah, but there's a world like next spring, say Colton McKivitz plays 17 games and, he has basically the same season he has last year. He's getting way more money than Jalen Moore got.
Oh, yeah,
right?
for sure.
Jalen Moore got, what, $15 million a year from the Chiefs?
Yeah, something crazy like that.
So as a backup, or after being a backup, Colton McKivitz could say, I've been starting for 3 years. So.
And been reliable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting situation. Let's transition to what Robert Saleh said about Nick Martin. Because I think Nick Martin's going to be a guy who gets talked about a lot.
Yep.
Through the remainder of the preseason. You and I said it, I think, after the preseason opener, when he just kind of looked lost. And like the speed is there and like the physical traits there. He is on the smaller side, obviously, but just wasn't in the right spots, wasn't taking good angles, missing tackles. Robert Saleh was asked about that today.
I have the quote.
Well, why don't you read it?
So he said, Nick's doing a good job. Obviously, he's a big-time run and hit linebacker, so he just has to learn how to control himself at the tackle point and come together. It's getting his feet underneath him and just get the body on the ball carrier until the speed of the game catches up to him, which is basically what we talked about after the game. Like, it's just really clear that was a rookie playing in his first NFL game, and it's just moving really, really fast for him right now.
Yeah.
But I do think that my concerns about him just kind of sliding off the ball carrier are still very much there. But it kind of begs the question for me as we talk about guys who are getting paid. If D Winters is good this year, are you paying him in the offseason to seeing if you can get him on that initial Dre Greenlaw super cheap extension? And then what are you doing with this 3rd round pick who's going to waste his rookie contract sitting behind D Winters? And does he ever develop that way? Like I trust Robert Saleh to identify linebacker talent and develop that talent. I think he has a very, very good track record of that. But at the same time, if D Winters is going to be this awesome player that everybody says he is, then I don't know where Nick Martin kind of goes from here. And there's a real chance that we're sitting here in 2027 going like, God, toss Nick Martin in with the Trey Sermons and the Tyrion Davis Prices and the Danny Grays of just kind of wasted 3rd round picks.
Yeah, I don't think it would be, if they did decide to re-sign D Winters, I don't think that would be a terrible decision. And I don't think it would necessarily mean Nick Martin would be a wasted pick.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Martin would just have to be that 3rd linebacker. Like Nick Martin would have to be, able to play Sam or able to play Will in base, and, maybe D moves to Sam or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But he would need to have a meaningful role, even if he's not a starter. He would need to be a special teams stalwart and somebody who, if D Winters gets hurt, there isn't a ton of drop off. Like a 3rd round pick for a rotational linebacker who sticks on your roster for 4 years, I think is acceptable. Is it ideal? No. But I wouldn't view that as a wasted 3rd round pick. If he doesn't get to that point,
mm-hmm.
and he's like, man, this guy's unplayable, and we can't have him on the active roster on game days during his rookie season,
mm-hmm.
then that's problematic. That's where we're getting to what you're talking about, to where this is like, no, this is a wasted pick, and this is somebody who they really whiffed on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there yet. Like I think he can. I think the traits are there for him to develop, like what he did in 2023 at Oklahoma State. Like he looked like a really good player,
mm-hmm.
really good player, just made a ton of tackles. But yeah, he's got to clean a lot of stuff up, and it's pretty clear that he's nowhere near that starting job. And we'll see. D Winters, I heard Barrows joking with Kawakami on their podcast, 49ers Plus Minus. Shout out to those guys. He said D Winters was looking like the second coming of Ray Lewis. And I think he said that somewhat tongue in cheek, but I mean the point was that D Winters was one of the best players in camp, which I still need to see it during games before I believe that D Winters is all of a sudden like even a Pro Bowl caliber linebacker or like a good starter. But that would be, I mean, that for all the time we spent talking about Nick Martin and them drafting him in the 3rd round, if D Winters goes on to develop and sort of take that like Diamador Lenore like step, albeit a little bit longer getting there,
Mm-hmm.
that would be a huge development for the Niners, because that's one of those things like we talk about all the time. They need new members of their young core to build around who are good players on affordable contracts. And if D Winters becomes one of those, then that would be big for a defense that badly needs to make dramatic improvement after last season. Yeah,
and I think one of the things they're going to do, just to shift gears a little bit, it falls in line with what you're saying. I think one of the things they're going to try and do is, that's not what I wanted to say. I don't know why I said those words in that order and then continued saying them in that order. So I'm going to rewind and say something different. I don't think Nick Martin's very clearly not the only rookie they're relying on, though. It's not like they said, hey, our future is on this guy, because Micah Williams, by all accounts, is going to start.
Yeah.
My guess is one of CJ West or Alfred Collins winds up starting. That's 2 rookies. Marquise Siegel is working his way into that starter conversation. I thought a really effective preseason game, and Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh both talked about how well he played. He was running, according to reporters down at camp, he was running with the ones again today in for Jason Pinnock, who's hurt. So Marquise Siegel was the first man up there. Connor Colby, my guy, got first team reps at left guard today when Ben Barch went down. So all of a sudden you're starting to see all these pieces fall in place where, okay, the Nick Martin thing is a quote unquote wasted pick. Let's just say it goes sideways with him and he's off the roster in 2027. Like, he's just not an NFL player. Even if that's the case, if Connor Colby is your starting left guard and Michael Williams is a really good defensive end and Marquise Siegel is your starting safety, and I didn't even mention Upton Stout, likely going to be your starting nickel corner. Now all of a sudden you have this really impactful, effective draft class that we've talked about them needing. And if one of CJ West or Alfred Collins is good, all of a sudden you're walking out of a draft class where 5 or 6 guys are impact players for you or starters for you. And that's where the Nick Martin thing matters less. The Ty Davis Price and Trey Sermon and Danny Grays all stand out because they were part of overall pretty ineffective draft classes. But when you remove the Nick Martin performance from the preseason against one preseason game, you're not going to judge the guy's entire career off of it. But if you take that aside and you start stacking up all the other things that are going right for this year's draft class, you start to feel really, really good about the 2025 class after a pretty strong outing from the 24 class. And that's what the 49ers need. Draft good players.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can draft Pro Bowl level players, even, outside of day one, right? Like that's a huge part of the recipe for success.
That's a cheat code.
Yeah. And the Niners, I would say, like, a good draft class for the Niners has been like 2 starters and 2 guys who are backups or special teamers who stick around through the life of their rookie contracts. Like, that to me, even if it's only, even if that's 4 or 5 guys out of 8 or 9 or 10 guys drafted, that's still a pretty solid draft haul when you look at just the hit rates throughout the NFL. So yeah, if Siegel becomes a starter, if Stout becomes like a plus nickel, like it looks like he will be, we'll see what the defensive line guys. I think CJ West is certainly further along than Alfred Collins. It sounds like Kalia Davis might factor into the defensive tackle situation, maybe more than we've certainly talked about.
Yeah, all eyes are on
for sure. But yeah, to your point, with all the injury stuff, it certainly feels a little bit problematic. As we sit here August 12th, fretting about the Niners injury situation. But I think a silver lining could potentially be like they might actually find something with a few of these rookies.
Yeah.
I think Connor Colby seems like he has all the opportunity in the world to start at left guard. I don't know if he will or if he's good enough to, but it certainly does not feel like Ben Barch or Nick Zakelj are tearing it up and showing the Niners that, like, yeah, we have this left guard spot nailed down. Ben Barch he hurt his quad in weightlifting before training camp. He left with an arm injury or an elbow injury today. The Niners don't really have a plan there, and it feels like Colby played well enough in the preseason opener to at least get more looks there. So yeah, if you have Siegel at safety starting and Upton Stout playing well at nickel, you have the defensive lineman working in rotation and playing well. It feels like, okay, this has the makings of what you want in terms of keeping that window open to complement the star players that you have.
Yeah. And we haven't even mentioned Jordan Watkins, who got hurt in the first preseason game, high ankle sprain, but he was starting to come along because of what you're talking about. Like, he's the exact type of player who, this is getting a little bit off track, but to your point about the opportunities for the young players, Jordan Watkins is the type of player that 2 years ago is not sniffing the field. We're hearing nothing about Jordan Watkins. But because of all these injuries ahead of him on the depth chart, all of a sudden he's getting more reps. He's working with the ones. He's having a 50-yard catch in the preseason. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, man, this guy can kind of play. And you're seeing it with Marquise Siegel. You've seen it with Upton Stout. And now Connor Colby getting his opportunity on the offensive line. It's just, I don't know if the 49ers were really in a place where they could trust rookies because they were trying to win a title. And I think that's not to say they're not trying to win this year, but they're in a place where they can afford to give those guys those opportunities because A, they don't have much of a choice, but B, it's like, all right, well, if we lose a game because we had 5 rookie starters, it's less of a burden now than it, or less of a disaster now than it might have been over the last few years.
Particularly if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy gets better,
Mm-hmm.
right? George Kittle plays at an all-pro level. Trent Williams plays at an all-pro level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a good rookie class, you could stay afloat. And particularly, like, the elephant in the room, too, with this Niners season is just how terrible the schedule is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know we're hesitant to just, like, look at strength of schedule, but I mean, you just look at this schedule. The Niners, if they can be anything close to what they've been under Kyle Shanahan when they're healthy and good, they like 11 wins is out there for them, just based purely on the schedule.
Yep.
So, like, yeah, just the rookies being competent and contributing at reasonable levels could get the 49ers there. So I think that's a reason that, like, that's a cause for optimism, in my opinion.
Yeah, if you told me the Niners are going to be relatively healthy all year, particularly with their star guys, I think 11 wins would probably be the number I'm circling.
Yeah.
Right now, you just got to factor in the 3 or 4 games Trent Williams is going to miss, and the game or two Christian McCaffrey might miss. It's kind of part of it.
That's true.
But I don't disagree, man. They are not that far away from being a team that we're sitting here in mid-December and Michael Williams is looking like the defensive rookie of the year, and Upton Stout is looking like a future Pro Bowler, and Jordan Watkins has come in and has worked his way, and he's a reliable receiver too, where now all of a sudden it's like, oh, they have pieces to make a run now. Yeah. But I just don't know. It's really impossible to say that in August. But if you're looking for silver linings or potential positives so far out of camp and going into the season, I think it's just that.
Yeah, for sure. And the fact, like, you know, the Rams became the betting favorite to win the NFC West, but like Matt Stafford is, has he practiced yet?
Right? No, he's cooked, bro. He's getting an epidural in his back. And then they're doing the downplay thing that the Niners did with McCaffrey last year, where they're like, no, he's fine. Like, everything's fine. This is all just, no, he's chilling. He's going to work out Saturday, and then he's going to practice Monday. And then we find out on Monday he's in street clothes watching practice. It's like, man, our guys at the Ringer Fantasy Football Show made this point that you never used to have back problems. And I'm not buying the Rams as long as Matthew Stafford is dealing with back injuries.
This
I'm not sure a big Jimmy Garoppolo fan.
This from Mike Florio, quoting, let's see, head coach passing game coordinator Aubrey Pleasant. Sorry, assistant head coach passing game coordinator. No update on Matthew, but I will tell you is it's very tough for not only him and for the organization. I would say that he's trying his best.
He is fucked. Can you imagine? I'm sorry, real quick. I want you to keep going, but stand by. Can you imagine if Kyle Shanahan said about Christian McCaffrey, yeah, you know, it's really tough for him and our organization, but, you know, he's doing his best. We would be like, wow, all right, guess McCaffrey's not playing this year. That's crazy. What an insane thing to say into a microphone.
Back issues aren't the best. Anyway, the point here, Matthew Stafford is a massive, massive question mark. I think if we could go into the season saying, without question, Matthew Stafford's going to be healthy, you'd feel okay about the Rams being the favorite in the division.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
With Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, maybe the Rams can hang around. I just don't know that Jimmy is the rising tide that lifts a young-ish roster. And and gets you where you want to go in terms of like contending for a Super Bowl. I know we saw it with the Niners. I just don't know that Rams roster is as good as the Niners roster was when the Niners were contending with Jimmy G.
Yeah, that's true.
Seattle is a giant question mark with Sam Darnold. Their defense is probably going to be really good. We have no idea if Sam Darnold's going to be good enough to carry them. Although maybe, I don't know, maybe they can replicate what Minnesota did. It's because Minnesota did it with a really good defense and Sam Darnold at quarterback last year. So we'll see. Arizona, it's a massive wild card. I know people love, the young guys they've brought in and what they could be defensively, and Kyler Murray having more weapons and Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. second season. I just feel like the Cardinals are always the hypothetical sneaky team, and they get off to a good start and then just completely fall apart as the season goes. And that's kind of just the story of Kyler Murray's career.
Bye.
So you look at the Niners, if this draft class is just like, yeah, you got 4 new starters, and these guys are playing at reasonable levels, and Robert Saleh is coaching them up, and Brock Purdy's playing, like at a really efficient level like we've seen the last couple of years, like it wouldn't surprise me at all given their schedule if the Niners can get back into that. That's the way I'm feeling, even despite all this crazy injury stuff, because I don't view this injury stuff as like as long as all their star guys are healthy, which it seems like they are, they're just not going to play in the preseason very much for obviously the correct reasons. Like I still feel pretty good about where they're at despite all this injury stuff.
Yeah, me too. Overall, I said I wouldn't pick them to win the Super Bowl today, but
not taking them over the Bills or the Chiefs or the
not yet.
Or the Ravens.
Not yet.
Okay, there's time. Yeah, maybe we're just so jazzed by this Connor Colby thing that like
I'm really fired up for my guy CC. He's got the Candlestick Chronicles initials.
Right,
just an absolute hoss, a road grader, a mutter, a bona fide dirt dog, in my opinion. He's got offensive lineman hair, 50 starts in 53 games in Iowa. Like, I feel like when you play for Iowa, there's just an extra little nastiness that you enter the league with. Yeah, hell yeah.
Connor Colby sounds like a starting guard. Like, we're big into names.
I totally agree.
Connor Colby sounds like, yeah, that's a all-pro guard from Iowa, Connor Colby.
Do we know that is an Iowa guard ass name for sure? What number is he wearing? This is going to be big. Oh, he's got 75. Come on.
Yeah,
it's a good number.
He'll be fine. Yeah, maybe later on this month we'll do the thing where we talk about the rookies who need to change their numbers, give them a little just bump in confidence or production or swagger or aura, if you will.
I want to do that right now, but A, we can save it for another episode, and B, I have to go.
Okay.
I have things
I'll start with Nick Martin just real quick. If Nick Martin was wearing a badass number in the 50s, he'd probably be playing a lot better. But because he's wearing 45, he's playing like a 45-ass linebacker.
Drew Moss, interior offensive lineman, gets 55, but our guy Nick Martin has 45. Come on.
Sebastian Vasquez, I kind of dig 55 for our guy Sebastian Valdez, not Vasquez. Sebastian Valdez.
Drew Moss is also in 55.
Yeah,
but he's
got to get
there.
On
the offensive line. I see.
Okay. All right. Subscribe, rate, and review. Check us out on YouTube. Go to Cooperage. Get yourself some Candlestick Chronicles Hazy IPA. Buy yourself some Lamb Chops clothing. Merch coming soon. Go play around on Prize Picks. Take the more than with your athletics plays. Do all the things. 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thumbs up, notification bells, those types of things. And we'll talk to you soon.